In early 1993, two systems for organizing information on the internet existed side by side. One of them was more popular. It had more servers, more users, and a head start of nearly 2 years. It was not the World Wide Web. Within 12 months, that lead had completely reversed. The reason was not simply that one technology worked better. One crucial difference came down to two decisions, made 2 months apart, by two different institutions about a single question. Who gets to own this? Before most people had ever heard of the World Wide Web, a system called Gopher was quietly becoming one of the internet's leading ways of finding information. Built in 1991 by a team at the University of Minnesota, Gopher organized documents into simple, fast-loading menus. It required little processing power, worked well on the slow connections of the era, and by late 1992 had become one of the most widely used tools on the early internet. Well ahead of the still obscure hypertext project, a British researcher named Tim Berners-Lee had been developing at CERN since 1989. Gopher was not a failed experiment nobody used. For a while, it was winning. In February 1993, the University of Minnesota announced that businesses using Gopher commercially would need to pay a licensing fee, reportedly ranging from hundreds to several $1,000s, depending on the size of the company involved. The university's reasoning was practical. It had spent years funding Gopher's development with no return, at a time when its own budgets were being cut. The reaction was immediate and, by the university's own later account, damaging. Users who had contributed time and code to Gopher for free felt blindsided. Even organizations that would never have owed a fee grew wary, uncertain whether licensing terms might expand. One member of the original Gopher team later put it plainly: the announcement had socially killed the project even before its technical decline began. 2 months later, on April 30th, 1993, CERN issued a short document concerning the software behind the World Wide Web. It stated in plain terms that CERN relinquished all intellectual property rights to the code and granted permission for anyone, anywhere to use, copy, modify, and redistribute it freely, with no fee and no restriction. Berners-Lee had pushed for exactly this outcome, reportedly watching what was happening to Gopher's user base and worried the web could face the same fate if CERN ever moved to restrict it. 10 years later, he summarized the decision's importance in a single sentence. Without that document, he said, there would have been no web at all. Neither decision was made in a vacuum, and neither one by itself fully explains what happened next. New tools mattered too. Later that same year, a graphical browser called Mosaic made the web dramatically easier to use than anything Gopher offered. But by the end of 1993, the trajectory of the two systems had become impossible to ignore. According to figures compiled at the time, Gopher's traffic grew by roughly 997% that year. The web's traffic grew by roughly 341,000%. The comparison is not proof that one decision caused the entire gap. The web was starting from a much smaller base, and its growth rate reflects that too. But the direction was unmistakable, and it began right as the two systems chose opposite answers to the same question. It is worth being precise about what CERN gave up and what it didn't. The April 1993 release put that specific version of the web software into the public domain outright. By November 1994, as the free software movement matured and concerns grew about companies quietly appropriating open code, CERN shifted its approach. The next version was released under an open source license instead. CERN retained copyright, while granting anyone the right to use, modify, and distribute the software freely and without royalties. The underlying commitment never changed. Nobody would have to pay to build on the web. Nobody would need permission first. Gopher never fully disappeared, and its decline had more than one cause. But the system that became the public face of the modern internet was not necessarily the one built first, or even the one that got more early traction. It was the one that, at the moment it mattered most, made sure nobody needed permission to join. Nobody remembers the date a university tried to charge a licensing fee. Almost everyone, without realizing it, still lives inside the decision made 2 months later. A short document that made the web free to spread without asking permission.